Hey everyone, there's been some questions about my CNC router, so let me just give you the lowdown quickly. So it's completely scratch built. I built this back when I was doing my PhD at university. I had access to a metalworking shop and I thought, hey, I don't want a 3D printer, I've got access to those already. I want something that can do some damage and cut some metals, so I built this not knowing what the hell I was going to get into, and pretty typical student fashion, not thinking about how much it was going to weigh, things like that. I thought about the important things of how much is it going to cost, but not will it fit in a car, can I lift it, and can I move it by myself. So the whole thing's built out of 80/40 aluminium extrusion and bolted together. The rails, the linear rails, and the lead screws and things I got as a kit off, I think it was eBay. It was I think it was about $320 when I bought it. The bit that irked me the most was getting it through customs. It cost me an extra $80. But it's all good fun. The stepper motors came from cnc4u.co.uk, a UK supplier. So these are all NEMA 27, NEMA 23. They're chunky buggers. I think they're 1.4 Newton meters. They're hefty. They can draw up to 4 amps. I've got them current limited to 2.5, just because I don't need that much power. The reason I don't need that much power, let me show you on the Z-axis. It's probably the easiest to see. Apologies for the dust. What I've got here is a 2.5 to 1 reduction. So I think this is 30. Anyway, the reduction ratio of this small gear to this large gear is 2.5 times. So for every rotation of this, we get for every rotation of this, we get 2.5 rotations there. It scales up to give more precision and more torque. But yeah, so Z on the carriage gives me about 30 centimeters of vertical travel, so just under a foot. My Y-axis, which is on single ball screw there, that gives me about 3 feet of travel. And then the Z-axis, which is underneath, is on 2 ball screws, so one on this side and then I've got one on the other side as well. That gives me 4 feet of travel. My most recent upgrades are the cable chains. These are all new. I put them on about 3 months ago. You'll see there's 2 actually underneath for the Z, just to carry the volume of cables. Before, the cables were literally, hanging off a cable tie on the roof and dangling down to the machine. It was just haphazard and kept breaking all the time. I've also finally installed physical limit switches on all the axes, which means I can home the machine, which is awesome. So it always goes back to a known position, which is brilliant if you want to do repeatable work. The gantry is all on T-nuts, so if I wanted to accommodate a really deep piece, I could slide the whole thing up and give me that extra clearance, but it's in its lowest configuration at the moment. And yeah, it's a bit sort of cable tied together, but it does the job and it's working and it's reliable. The electronics for it are all on this board underneath. This will flip down if I need to. So I've got parallel port out from the computer to this very standard breakout board, opto-isolated, so nothing I'm going to do is going to fry a computer. Then it goes out to these 4 stepper driver motors. The reason I've got 4, I've got 1 for each of the X axes. So Z, Y, X and X. And it means that I can run full current to the 2 X motors. And then there's my power supply for the stepper motors. And then I've got a second one, which used to be used for a DC spindle. But it really was, it was underpowered. It could do foam and balsa wood, but couldn't really do anything. So my good old trusty brushed nasty ass cheap as chips £60 what's that, $70 router, which I've had for 15 years, mounted at a very funky angle, but I realized that there were holes in the base plate that I could roughly match up with my existing mount, because this was designed originally to hold the DC motor. So that's my spindle, and I've got 1/4 inch 6mm and 8mm collets for that, so I can go in and swap out the tools as and when. Will it focus? Yeah, sort of. There we go. So you can see that's die plywood die. I name my tools. So die plywood die is a 4-flute HSS tool that I well, does what it says on the tin. It kills plywood. Then I've got my spoil board, which is just bolted on top of the main body. This spoil board I've only actually surfaced. I mean, work fast, work lazy. I've only actually surfaced everything under the melamine that you see, and the melamine is on there because for my first ever double-sided part I needed somewhere to put dowel pins into, so the melamine was there to take the dowel pins and not go into my recently surfaced spoil board. You can see I also test cut a load of dowel pin holes just because, yeah, believe it or not, cutting into melamine and cutting into mahogany, you end up with different sized holes despite cutting the same size hole in the program. But what you can see here, these are the offcuts from the workpiece I've just finished, and the dowel pins allowed me to flip and machine from both sides. And then you can see the remnants of the tabs which I left in there just to hold the workpiece, so 2mm thick tabs. And then I haven't got a zeroing block or a tool length setter, so everything is done using, you'll love this, an old cover for an A4 piece of graph paper, but with my calipers that's 0.22 of a millimeter. So as soon as I just put that under the tool, jog it down, and as soon as it grabs, which you can see the scratches on there, I set my offset, my Z offset at 0.22 millimeters, and it cuts perfectly every time. Let me just, finally, running Linux CNC, so I use Fusion 360 because it's free for hobbyists for up to 3 axes, and it does the job. I'm surprised how well the CAM processing works. It's got a couple of gotchas, but yeah, any of these machines will. Oh, and then I've just got a wireless keyboard and mouse. If you're going to do something like this with Linux CNC, don't make the mistake I did and buy a cheap Logitech, because page down you have to press and hold function to use it, and page down is used to raise and lower the Z-axis. So let me just have I got it currently engaged? Yeah, so there we go, jogging in Y. I can go up to so this is running at 700 millimeters a minute, same in X. There it goes, coming towards me. And then, as I say, you have to do a funky key combo if you want the, so you have to press an old function. I can't do it with one hand, so I won't do Z. But let me just hit play on the program. So this is the same program I've just run. This is a VCarve for doing the monogram and dates for the piece that I just showed you on Slack. But if I hit the go button on the interface, there we go, it's just paused itself, and then we hit run. I've purposely put it above the workpiece so you can see it air cutting, and if it's too noisy I'll stop it. But there we go, off go the axes. You can see where the part originally was. And just because I still don't trust the machine, and you never should, I'm just going to stand by with the escape key just to kill the program if it suddenly decides to dive straight into my spoil board. So it's tool, down it comes, and there we go, it's now air cutting. So there's the Z-axis, there's the Y-axis. So yeah, there we go. I do like Linux CNC. It was a bit of a bugger to get set up, but once you've got your head around all the configuration files, it works pretty nicely. Certainly the best free CAM processor I've seen. You can run it off a Raspberry Pi if you want to have the additional headaches. My Raspberry Pi is currently acting as my Pi-hole and NAS controller, so this is just running off an old Windows PC I had that just put Linux kernel on, and happy days. So yeah, there we go. That's my CNC. The trailing cable, the one trailing cable, is for the router, just because I wanted to be able to break out the ability to turn the power on and off. I haven't got any relay boards or anything just yet. But there we go. It's fun. It's great to finally have it back up and running. It's spent far too long in a shed being disassembled because I had nowhere to put it. But now I have garage, I've finally got it back up and running. And just a little extra bonus, people might be wondering, what the hell's this under here? This is the bottom of an old tumble dryer which died. Hang on, let me just kill the program. There we go, so it's not buzzing over me all the time. Yeah, the reason I've got an old tumble dryer, it's got a pretty, it's not a great motor, but it's a beefy motor. I'm very much of the school of Matthias Wandel from YouTube. If you haven't come across his YouTube channel, it's brilliant, but he makes random stuff out of random stuff. So I've been experimenting with this motor here. It's got enough torque to create a blower fan out of, so I'm going to use this as my dust extraction for the CNC because it sorely needs it. As you can see, I haven't really swept my shop since I did my project, that is going to become the air extraction. And if it doesn't have enough static pressure to effectively suck things off, I've still got my little shop vac over there, which I can use. And then I'll turn it into an air filter for the room so I can get rid of some of the fine particulate. But there we go. That's my CNC. I hope that answers some questions. And yeah, apologies, still moving in, so random boxes of stuff. That is my wood storage for flat panels. My random box of offcuts. As you can see, my oh so well organized workspace. I have put some shelves up. I'm starting to organize the space, still moving in 2 years after moving house. Flat stock goes up on the garage door runners because I never use the garage doors. And then my reclaimed pallet wood, which has been used for a few projects, is just stood up over there, and older wonderful shelf things, and I use my clamps to just stop it falling down. But there we go. So that's my little domain. Other projects as well. So these are wall planters. They hang on walls so we can grow strawberries on the wall and things out in the garden. So yeah, there we go. Hope that makes sense. And welcome to my garage. As you can see, it's not ready for filming. I'd love to just give up work and do professional YouTubing, and yeah, I'd love to do that, but I don't have the gear, don't have the time, and have a mortgage to pay. So for the time being, it's a hobby, and it's a fun hobby, and I have taken a lot of inspiration from this woodworking channel. So thank you guys for being on it.